Namo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining today. Today we will look at the life and times of Ramananda Ray. It's his disappearance day today. Amazing devotee, and we shall see what he's done, especially for us. So we'd like to seek the blessings of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar Krishna Balaram, Gauritai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled Vaishnavas to try to understand this glorious personality. So this is a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, 10th chapter, 134th verse.
Hey Panchaputra Tomara Mora Priya Patra Ramananda Samora Deha Vedamatra. Translation: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Bhavananda Rai, "Your 5 sons are all my dear devotees. Ramananda Rai and I are one, although our bodies are different."
Yeah. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely close to Ramananda Rai, and we'll see how in a minute. When Lord Krishna appeared as Lord Chaitanya, Krishna's eternal associates accompanied him. So Krishna has many devotees who are always with him. And when Krishna comes to this world, they join him, they come with him. Born in Alalanath, Odisha, Ramananda was the eldest of 5 sons of Bhavananda Rai of the Shudra caste. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 10:53, Lord Chaitanya tells Bhavananda Rai, "You are Pandu and your wife is Kunti. Your 5 sons are the 5 Pandavas." According to Gaudiya tradition, however, Ramananda Rai is also an incarnation of the Gopi, Vishakha. So there are 2 gopis who are very close to Radha Krishna, Lalita and Vishakha. So Ramananda Rai is regarded to be Vishakha. Ramananda is a disciple of Raghavendra Puri and a grand disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri we see again. He had such an influence on the Gaudiya tradition. As Ramananda reached adulthood, he served as the governor of a district known as Vidyanagar around modern-day Rajamundri in South Bharat, then part of Orissa, kingdom of Prataparudra Dev, who was seated to the throne in 1497 after his father, Purushottam Dev. Prataparudra Empire spread from the banks of the Ganga to the southern borders of Karnataka, with his capital in Cuttack. That's a long distance, very powerful king, large kingdom. Later, Ramananda served as one of his prominent ministers, and also was subsequently appointed as governor. So he was in charge of a very large piece of area, piece of land. Ramananda Ray's significance in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins soon after the Lord accepted the sannyas order of life. When the Lord arrived in Puri and he met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the king's court pandit. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a prominent Mayavadi philosophy. Mayavadi basically means one who believes that they can merge into God, and that is the ultimate liberation. But actually that is considered by Vaishnavas as hell, because you want to merge, you want to become God. And that's our ultimate, that's our the original problem in the first place. Anyway, he was a prominent Mayavadi philosopher who was convinced by Lord Chaitanya's charisma and teaching. The Lord didn't stay in Puri for long. He left for a tour of South Bharat to spread the holy name of Krishna to all. But just prior to his departure, Sarvabhauma requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to visit Ramananda Ray at Vidyanagar. And he said to him, there you will find a singularly super excellent Vaishnav. So how did Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya know him? I'm not quite remember exactly how he got to know Ramananda Ray, but Ramananda Ray was a devotee, great devotee of Krishna. And because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya believed in the formless aspect of God, Ramananda Ray would try to convince him that actually the ultimate form of the Lord is his personal form. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was never quite convinced. But he knew, especially after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu convinced him about the personality of God, he realized that Ramananda Ray is actually a great devotee. So he advised Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, go and meet him. After several adventures on his way south, Gaura Hari finally arrived at Godarvi, making a beeline for Vidyanagar, the largest city on the river's banks. It is directly across from an area called Kovur, where Sri Ramananda often bathed. After enjoying the waters there himself at Goshpada Ghat, Mahaprabhu sat and waited. Ramananda Ray, he came with the entourage. So he was governor. And with the governor always followed different personalities like the Brahmins and servants. Ramananda Ray and Gaura Hari's conversation in Vidyanagar on the banks of the Godarvi details the highest and most confidential aspects of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, and is also recorded in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, 8th chapter. And this took place in the year 1512, 12 years after Gaura Hari took sannyas. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Ray on the banks of the Godavari. So initially when they met, actually Ramananda Ray became very ecstatic. But at that time, because there were so many people around, they didn't have a proper conversation like they now are having. So they again agreed to meet, but this time alone. So when they met, this is the conversation that took place. Gauranga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Ramananda Ray, recite a verse from the revealed scriptures concerning the ultimate goal of life. So Ramananda Ray said, Lord Vishnu is worshipped by proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varnashram. So this is in the Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, 13th verse. So this is what Ramananda Ray put forward as the ultimate goal of life. And this is the verse actually. Atha punbhir dvija shrestha varnashram vibhagasaha swanus Tasya dharmasya samsiddhair haritoshanam. O best amongst the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of God. So this is the verse I was quoted. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, this is external. Please tell me something else. It's external in the sense that we are looking at the Varnashram and how within the Varnashram we fit in, and then we use that service, we use that position to serve the Lord. So our mental situation may be different. So that's why he's saying, this is external. Tell me something more. Ramananda Ray continued, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer in sacrifice, whatever you give in charity, whatever austerities you do, you perform, all the results of such activities should be offered to Krishna. So this is in the Bhagavad Gita, text number 27. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhushi tadasi yat tapas Yasi kaunteya tat kuru swa mad arpalam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give away. Whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So this is next verse offered by Ramananda Ray to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very nice verse as well. Anything you do it for Krishna. So what did the Lord reply? Again, this is external because the state of consciousness may be different from the action. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, please proceed further. So then Ramananda Ray says, after giving up all religious and occupational duties, if you come to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and take shelter, I give you protection from all life's sinful reactions. Do not worry. So this is a very famous verse. Sarva dharma parityaji mamikam sharanam vraj aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasya ma sucham. Abandon all religion, varieties of religions, just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This is pretty much the last instruction, one of the last instructions given in the Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna, often quoted by many different religionists as the ultimate purpose of life. So to surrender unto Krishna, supreme rule, give up everything. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again said, this is external, and pleaded, go ahead, say something more. And Ramananda Ray continued, one who is transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. Brahmanohi pratistaham amratasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kansai kasya cha. So in the Bhagavad Gita 14:27, it says, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So this is again quoted by Ramananda Ray. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, after hearing this, the Lord, as usual, doesn't accept it, considering it to be external. So then Ramananda Ray says, pure devotional service without any touch of speculative knowledge or impersonal conception is the essence of perfection. Hearing truths from self-realized soul devotees. So no speculation. This is this, this is that. Depend on scripture to tell us exactly what is what. And no impersonal conception. So God is not impersonal. He has the impersonal aspect, but that's not what the devotees aspire for. Savaipamso paro dharmo yatha bhakti saje ahituki pratihata yatatma suprasitati. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which man can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. The Guru Maharaj used to chant this verse a lot. He liked this verse very much. And it's a nice verse because it emphasizes devotional service and how it should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. So what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? He replied, yes, that is all right. So he liked it. The first verse he actually liked because it specifically talks about bhakti. Bhakti is so important. Bhakti cannot be separated from the Supreme Lord. One and the same. Like Radharani is actually Hladini Shakti, the internal aspect of the Supreme Lord. And she is in charge of bhakti. She is bhakti herself, Bhakti Devi. So Radha and Krishna are one. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, this is all right. But you can speak more on this subject. So Ramananda Ray continued, pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, that is intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. So this is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the purport of the 10th chapter, 30th verse, 10th canto, 30th verse, 25th chapter. Prabhupada mentions a verse from the Skanda Purana. Madhya Manguli Mulecha Datte Kamalam Achyuta Dhyata Chitta Dvire Panam Lobana Yati Shobanam. At the bottom of the middle toe of that same foot, Lord Achyuta has a lotus flower, which increases the greed for him in the mind of the bee-like devotees who meditate on his feet. So, what does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? Yes, this is good as well, but if you know more, please tell me. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is digging for more nectar from Ramananda Ray. So then he says, Ramananda Ray says, by eternally serving and as servant, you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master? As from Yamunacharya. So that's a really nice verse, because Yamunacharya is saying, let me serve you as servant without any deviation or interruption. Hearing this, the Lord again requested him to go a step further. Ramananda Ray said, loving service to Krishna rendered in friendship is the highest perfection. The Bhagavatam 10, 12, 11. Itam satam brahma sukhanubhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena maya shritanam naradarakena sakham vicharukata punya punja. Neither those who are engaged in self-realization, appreciating the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, nor those engaged in devotional service while accepting the Supreme Personality of God as master, nor those who are under the clutches of Maya, thinking that the Lord is an ordinary person, can understand that certain exalted personalities, after accumulating volumes of pious activities, are now playing with the Lord in friendship as cowherd boys. So this is a very exalted position, to be very, very close to the Supreme Lord, so close that you don't regard him as the Supreme Lord, but you regard him as your very dear friend. And in that mood, you please the Lord by performing so many wonderful pastimes with the Lord. So what does the Lord say? Yes, this statement is very good, but please proceed even further. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just wanting to enter into this wonderful mellows of bhakti with Ramananda Ray. So he continued, "O Brahman, what pious activities did Nanda Maharaj perform, by which he received the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as his son? And what pious activities did Mother Yashoda perform that made the absolute supreme truth, Krishna, call her mother and suck her breasts?" So this is really powerful verse. Not sure where it comes from, actually. I think this is the Bhagavatam. I forgot the reference here. So the Lord replies, yes, your statement is certainly getting better and better, one after the other. But surpassing all of them is another transcendental mellow. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is wanting to hear about that. So then Ramananda Ray says, and he's bringing out the highest mellow of devotional service. When Lord Sri Krishna was dancing with the gopis in the Ras Leela, the gopis were embracing around the neck by the Lord, were embraced around the neck by the Lord's arms. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or the other consorts in the spiritual world. That love which has the highest taste in the gradual succession of desires manifests itself in the form of conjugal love. So this is Ramananda Ray's understanding, because of course he is Vishaka, is unsurpassed. Therefore, the quality found in Shanta Ras, Dasiras, Sakiras, Vatsalyaras. So those are the ones that we talked about. Lasiras is serving in servitorship. Sakiras is as a friend. Vatsalya is as a parent. They are all manifested in conjugal love. Madhurya Ras. Lord Krishna cannot proportionately reciprocate devotional service in Madhurya Ras. Therefore, he always remains a debtor to such devotees. This is he cannot repay this because the devotee simply wants to please the Lord and doesn't want anything back in return. And so the Lord becomes a debtor to that devotee. He owes that devotee. This is the limit of perfection. But please be merciful to me and speak more. So is there more? Yes. Among the loving affairs of the gopis, Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna, Sri Krishna, is topmost. Even Lord Krishna cannot reach the limit of her transcendental qualities. Finding herself treated equally with all the other gopis, Srimati Radharani displayed her tricky behavior and left the circle of the Ras dance. The Ras dance does not shine in the heart of Krishna without Srimati Radharani. Therefore, he also gave up the circle of Ras dance and went to search for her. And then, so these are the two comments made by Ramananda Ray. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, now I have come to understand the sublime goal of life, the process of achieving it. But I think there is something more, and my mind is desiring to have it. So this is really such a transcendental conversation between the Lord and his devotee, where the devotee is saying things which are bringing more and more ecstasy into Chaitanya. So then Ramananda Ray continues, Lord Krishna's sweetness is so attractive that it steals away his own mind. Thus even he wants to embrace himself. Upon seeing his own reflection in the bejeweled pillar of his Dwarka palace, Krishna desired to embrace it, saying, alas, I've never seen such a person before. Who is he? Just by seeing him, I have become eager to embrace him, exactly like Srimati Radharani. So in the palace in Dwarka, one time Krishna saw himself in the reflection and he thought, wow, who is this? Let me hug him. It was himself, he himself. This shows that Krishna's qualities are always increasing. He's very dynamic. God is dynamic. God is not a boring old man, living in heaven, throwing thunderbolts at earth. He's dynamic. He's young, and, ever fresh. So his qualities are always expanding. He himself can't keep up with it. So when he sees himself, he's thinking, ooh, who's this? Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, now I have come to understand the truth of the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. Nonetheless, I still want to hear how both of them gloriously enjoy such love. Day and night, Lord Shri Krishna enjoys the company of Srimati Radharani in the bushes of Vrindavan. Thus his pre-youthful age is fulfilled through his affairs with Srimati Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, that is all right, but please continue. Saying this, Ramananda Ray began to sing a song he had composed about Prema Vilas Vivata. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of ecstasy of love of God, had immediately covered Ramananda's mouth with his own hands. Without help of the gopis, one cannot enter into these pastimes. There is no other procedure for understanding. So this is the verse. Try to do that.
Bhavatascha Chita Chatuni Sveda Vilapya Kramat Yunjan Adri Nikunja Nikunja kunjara pate niduta beda brahman chitraya swayam anvaran jyat iha brahmanda harm yodre uyod bir navaraga hingula bahare shringara karu kriti. Translation: O my lord, you live in the forest of Govardhan Hill, and like the king of elephants, you are expert in the art of conjugal love. O master of the universe, your heart and Srimati Radharani's heart are just like shellac and are now melted in your spiritual perspiration. Therefore, one can no longer distinguish between you and Srimati Radharani. Now you have mixed your newly invoked affection, which is like vermilion, with your melted hearts, and for the benefit of the whole world, you have painted both your hearts red within this great palace of the universe.
So this is Madhya Leela, 8th chapter, 195 verse. They're so close. In fact, Krishna was one in the beginning, and then he divided himself into two, him and Radharani. And now it's Chaitanya, they've come back together again. But if you see this verse here, therefore no one can no longer distinguish between you and Srimati Radharani. So they're one and the same person, one and the same. One is energetic, one is energy. You can't have one without the other. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed these verses recited by Sri Ramananda Ray, saying, "This is the limit of the goal of human life. Only by your mercy have I come to understand it conclusively. The goal of life cannot be achieved unless one practices the process. Now, being merciful upon me, please explain that means by which that this goal can be attained." The pastimes of Radha and Krishna are very confidential. They cannot be understood through the mellows of servitude, fraternity, or parental affection. Actually, only the gopis have the right to appreciate these transcendental pastimes. Only from them can these pastimes be expanded. So we somehow have to follow in the footsteps of these gopis, the Brijvasis, in order to obtain this deep sense of love for the Supreme Lord. Unless one follows in the footsteps of the gopis, he cannot attain the service of the lotus feet of Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. If one is overcome by knowledge of the Lord's opulence, he cannot attain the Lord's lotus feet, even though he's engaged in devotional service. If one is very impressed by the Lord's opulence, because he owns everything, he's omniscient, he's omnipresent, he's everything, then we'll always be in awe and reverence of him. Just like Lakshmi Devi is in awe and reverence of the Lord, she won't be able to enter into the sweeter mellows of devotional service. After hearing this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Ramananda Ray, and both of them, embracing shoulder to shoulder, began to cry. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed himself as Radha and Krishna in front of Ramananda Ray, who, if you remember, is Vishaka himself. So, and this is, I think, the birthplace of Ramananda Ray. This is a Gaudiya Math at that place, temple established by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada at the birthplace of Ramananda Ray in Bengal. This is the conversation. This is like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Ray here, having that conversation on the banks of the Gadaravi. So, after 10 days, Gaura Hari begged Ramananda Ray. So they met for 10 days. Every day they would have these divine conversations and go into deep ecstasy, discussing Lord Krishna, Radharani. So after 10 days, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begged Ramananda Ray to give him permission to leave. And at the time of farewell, the Lord gave him the following orders: give up all material engagements and come to Jagannath Puri. He was a governor, if you remember. I will return there very soon after finishing my tour and pilgrimage. The two of us shall remain together at Jagannath Puri and happily pass our times discussing Krishna. Later, with the permission of King Pratapurudra, Ramananda Ray went to Jagannath Puri. Sri Swarup Damodar was the dearmost friend of Ramananda Ray. And in fact, Swarup Damodar is regarded to be Lalita in Krishna Lila. So Lalita and Vishaka being Ramananda Ray, were together. And they were always together in Jagannath Puri serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Having written dramas on the pastimes of Krishna, Ramananda Ray had them performed before Sri Jagannath by the Devdasis of the temple. So he was a poet as well, writing dramas. Sri Ramananda Ray passed away after the disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the pastime of Ramananda Ray, a very exalted personality. And this conversation between them pleased the Lord so much. Interaction between them would please the Lord so much. It's good to remember these pastimes, good to remember these, because we can learn how important bhakti is to the Supreme Lord and engage more and more deeply in devotional service. So any questions, any comments? Yes, please.
I mean, I know you was reading it, and I was just listening it, but I think I found it a bit difficult to understand. And I just wanted to know who was Gaurang and who is Rama.
Yes. Gauranga and Mahaprabhu are the same person. We just have different names for them. So Gauranga means Gaura. Gaura means like golden color. Okay. So that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Same person. Chaitanya and Gaura are the same person.
And who is Ramananda Ray?
Ramananda Ray is the devotee, who we are celebrating his disappearance day today. So he left this world today.
All right. Did he take samadhi?
Yes.
He takes samadhi.
Yes. And he actually is Vishaka in the spiritual world. Vishaka is very close to Radha Krishna. So when Krishna comes, he brings his devotees with him to this world. And they perform Leela like this.
Okay, thank you. I mean, you was reading, I was listening, but it was difficult for me.
Yeah, I know.
It's very high level.
Thank you. And the English was also the way Mataji is telling, that is a high standard power. It's very difficult to understand the words. It's not simple English.
No, it's not. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Bhaktisiddhanta's use of English was better than the Queen's English, I think.
Yeah, no, but Prabhu, all these Purans is written by Prabhupada, Prabhupada Maharaj, and he must have used this really high standard English.
Yes.
Yeah, he was actually, he studied in a Scottish school in Calcutta. That's why his English was so high as well.
All right. Yeah, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Hey, Ramananda Ray ki jai.